Hello everyone, my name is Spicy. Welcome to my channel. Today, we are going to be watching and reviewing a TV show so offensive, so racist, so edgy, that it was cancelled after just 6 episodes. I am talking about the crown jewel, nay, the brown jewel of the British Broadcasting Company, the Kohinoor of London weekend television, if you will. Curry and chips. With a name like that, how bad could you possibly be? Did I speak too soon? My, what have we gotten ourselves into? So I'm a sucker for old school sitcoms. Nothing beats corny jokes and canned laughter, and I am especially a fan of British comedies. The British have a brand of comedy that just cannot be replicated anywhere else. I even have a video on one of my favorite TV shows of all time, Mind Your Language, where I talk about how that show handles racial humor and why I think the comedy still holds up to this day. So naturally, I was very intrigued when one of you lovely viewers mentioned the TV show Curry and Chips in the comments. Now, I had never heard of this show before, but my curiosity was piqued when this person said that the show was deemed too offensive even for those times. I'll be the judge of that one, pal. Curry and Chips is a British sitcom that aired in 1969. It follows the adventures of a Pakistani immigrant who recently moved to London and gets a job at a prank toy factory called Lily Crap Limited, much to the disappointment of his highly xenophobic coworkers. According to the show's writers, the show was meant to highlight the prevalence of racism in British society, using humor to call to light the absurdity and hypocrisy of looking down on so-called foreigners. It sounds promising, right? So then, why did they get cancelled after just 6 episodes? Where did they go wrong? After I watched the first episode of Curry and Chips, I hated it. It was so racist. It made Mind Your Language seem like some sort of social justice warrior fairy tale. They used racial slurs I had never even heard of. I hated the show so much, I didn't even want to finish it. Nevertheless, I finished the full series. I watched all 6 episodes, and guys, I have mixed feelings. I don't hate it because I can see that the TV show had the potential to be something great, but we'll get into that later in the video. So we're gonna watch Curry and Chips, and I'm gonna give you my thoughts and my commentary, and I'm gonna tell you where I think they got it wrong. And just a side note, when I show clips of this TV show, you're gonna be hearing a lot of racial slurs. I don't condone the usage of these words at all. However, this is what they wrote. This is what aired on TV. And in order to properly critique this show, we need to see it in its complete, unadulterated authenticity. If I censored any of the words just for the sake of remaining family friendly, I feel as though I would be watering down just how fucking horrible this show actually was. And I don't think that's fair. So the series starts off at the Lily Crap prank toy factory. The manager, Arthur, meets a gentleman that was sent to the factory by the unemployment agency. This new hire's name is Kevin O'Grady, a Pakistani immigrant who is half Irish on his father's side.
I'm from the unemployment exchange. They are telling me there might be a job here.
Ah, there is? Yeah. Then again, there might not be. You from India?
Pakistan.
Pakistan. Oh. What's your name?
O'Grady. Kevin O'Grady.
That's an Irish name.
Yes, I'm Irish.
Immediately, the other workers are not happy with this. You have Norman, the outspoken socialist, who makes his feelings on the matter very clear.
He's a foreign gentleman.
You what?
Pakistani.
Now listen, we've got our coloured clothes here. We don't want any more blacks.
You're biased, you are. You call yourself a labourer, you can't stand blacks.
I tell you what, if they sent all the wogs back home, we'd have an extra hour of daylight.
I had to think about that one for a while to get it. Norman is saying that there's so many, W words darkening up the country with their brownness that if all South Asians left England, the country would literally be brighter. It's satire, it's satire, it's satire. It's satire. Now here we meet another worker named Kenny, the only black person working at the factory, who, interestingly enough, is also against Kevin O'Grady working there.
Look, mate, I might be a bit on the brown side, I'll admit that, but I ain't a bloody wog like him. Before these lot come over here, I was treated all right, I was. I was your original Cockney Spade. I didn't mind that, but now his mob have turned me into a bloody coon. They say to me, "Oi, Sambo, go home." Go home? I am home. I was born here. I'm bloody English, I am.
Rather than directing his frustrations to the perpetrators of this racism, Kenny directs it towards the immigrants themselves and aligns himself with his white co-workers. Interesting writing choice. I wonder if Kenny wrote that, or if someone else wrote it for him. I also appreciate the writer's decision to make Kevin O'Grady half Irish, half Pakistani, two groups of people that the British notoriously have a distaste for. It's like they're setting him up for turbo racism. Kevin O'Grady's co-workers have lovingly bestowed upon him a nickname to reflect his mixed heritage.
Sit down, sit down. I've got a lovely treat here for you. Got Packy Paddy, a little song I've taught him in my own time. You ready, Packy?
Packy Paddy.
Packy Paddy.
Packy Paddy.
Packy Paddy.
Not gonna lie, I think that's kind of funny. Sue me, okay? Sue me. I laughed a little bit at that nickname, all right? But keep in mind, I'm not British, and thank God for that. I'm not British, I'm American, so I virtually never use the P word being thrown around as a slur. That's just not a common thing here. So the scandal and the taboo associated with, you know, throwing that word around is just not something that I'm familiar with. Perhaps that's why I was kind of amused by that name.
I eat pig many times. But pig disagree with me. I like pig, but pig do not like me.
I'd like to pause here for a second and draw your attention to something. Do you notice anything odd about our friend Kevin O'Grady? How his accent seems to fluctuate here and there? How the color of his palms are the same color as the back of his hands? This is a white guy in brownface. Kevin O'Grady is played by the Irish comedian Spike Milligan. Woo! Coulda fooled me! Coulda fooled me! And they did, actually. I didn't even notice this until I was like 5 minutes into the first episode and I pulled out my phone and Googled it. I was like, hey, wait a second. Wait a second. Something's amiss here. Apparently, Spike Milligan was born in British-occupied India, so I guess in his mind he felt like that made it okay for him to masquerade as a brown man. He was born in India, so technically that makes him Indian, but he is of Irish and English descent. Mr. Milligan, I thank you for your contributions to the world of comedy, and I thank you for your service in World War II, but respectfully, you're not a colleague, you're a fucking colonizer. I feel like I'm just preaching to the choir here if I sit here and try to explain to you why brownface is wrong, but I'm sure there's at least one person right now watching thinking, well, Spike Milligan is an actor. His job is to play a role. If he played the role of a Pakistani man so well that he even had you fooled for a second, don't you think he's good at his job? Okay, let's put it like this. Imagine a writer comes up to you and says, hey, I think your life story is fascinating. I want to turn it into a TV show. I'm gonna write the whole thing. I'm gonna write your lines for you. I get to choose who plays you in the show. You don't receive any financial compensation. And if you have anything negative to say about it, you're just a sensitive little snowflake who doesn't understand my artistic vision. That's basically what happened here. Some of you might feel so disgusted that you probably don't even want to watch the rest of this show, and I don't blame you for that. I chose to keep watching because I think it's hilarious that no one stopped him. Everyone saw him brown himself up for the role and said, yep, Spike, you look great, let's roll. It's 1969, it's not exactly ancient times. It was a time of massive social upheaval, not just in America, but also in the UK as well. Surely they must have had some inkling of an idea that this isn't exactly the right move, especially if you're setting out to make a TV show to expose the absurdity of racism. Either way, Arthur offers Kevin O'Grady a place to stay in a boarding house that is run by a widow named Mrs. Bartok. She takes a liking to Kevin O'Grady. Aside from Arthur, she's the only other character in the show that seems to show an ounce of kindness towards Kevin O'Grady. She's a little confused, but she's got the spirit.
Oh, would you like some curry powder in your tea, Kevin?
No, thank you, Mrs. Buttock.
Are you sure?
No, thank you. No, thank
It's
you.
no trouble.
No. Whoever heard of bloody curry free?
Kevin, you've forgotten your sandwiches.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Thank you very much.
I've put some curry powder in them.
I like her character, and I think it's because I can think of at least two people in my life exactly like Mrs. Bartok. She means well, she really does, but she's that friend that's most likely to say gracias to a waiter at a Japanese restaurant.
That's all he's done wrong is being coloured, isn't it? Besides, he's only half-coloured, really. He's Irish on his father's side. So it's not Kevin's fault that he's coloured. It's his father's to blame for that, not Kevin. If his father had been a bit more fussy who he slept with, Kevin would be white like us. Still, knowing the Irish, his father was probably drunk when he was doing it.
The last two characters to introduce are just some more factory workers. There's Smelly, an old racist man who smells, and Young Dick, who's just there, being Young Dick.
Look at him. Look at him sitting over there, grinning like a bloody orangey ootang. Orangey ootang.
Kevin O'Grady gets the exact treatment that you would expect from a TV show that was written by white British people. He's basically a bumbling, simple-minded foreigner with backwards traditions that just can't seem to wrap his mind around British customs. His only desire seems to lie in working hard and making money. However, if I take my woke hat off for a second, I'd be lying if I said I didn't laugh at anything that came out of Kevin O'Grady's mouth.
That's a lot of money, my old friend.
£250,000. Oh, that money must be worth a fortune.
You're not so much on the black side as on the brown side.
We had a bath. Oh, this is only £1 till my chick arrives. £1. 4. 5. Only there we are. You got to get up early in the night to catch me early in the morning.
When they're not working at the factory or at home, you can catch Kevin O'Grady and company at the local pub.
Let's all get on the pub.
Oh, the pub-a-dum.
Right.
Did you guys catch that? Kevin O'Grady refers to the pub as the pub-a-dum.
Oh, the pub-a-dum.
Okay, can some British person explain to me what is your guys' obsession with pupperdums? So many British shows I've seen reference them. This show references them in the theme song. In America, pupperdums are not really a big thing, you know? Like, they give it to you as appetizers at an Indian restaurant, but they're not exactly something to be singing about when you're using the bathroom.
Oh, Danny boy, the pupperdums are calling.
I mean, me personally, I don't really like pupperdums. They taste like drywall. They have a really weird aftertaste, and honestly, they're just kind of bland. Maybe that's why British people like it so much. I answered my own question. Overall, the show has some good moments. There were times where I feel like they really did capture the hypocrisy of their racism towards Kevin O'Grady. Like, for example, in episode 3, where Kevin O'Grady wins the football draws, meaning that his betting has won him a total of £250,000. After hearing this, everyone, including Norman, has somehow found their humanity and found a place in their heart to show some kindness towards their friend Kevin O'Grady. Norman goes as far as inviting him over for dinner and encouraging his daughter to make a move on Kevin O'Grady.
Come on, give me a kiss. Come on, Blackie, give little Whitey a little kissy.
Come on, Blackie, give Whitey a little kissy!
Come here, Joshua, give me a kiss. Come on, baby, give me some sugar.
In my opinion, the best episode of this short-lived show is episode 4, where Kevin O'Grady is on his way to a football match on a Saturday. However, he accidentally stumbles into a race riot and gets beaten up. Most of this show consists of British people saying basically whatever they want about immigrants and non-white people, and it's all very one-sided. But in this episode, we finally see the British man's bigoted mindset being challenged.
So tell me, how can I make a race riot on my own? How? On my own, tell me.
You lot provoked the race riots, mate, by being here. If you wasn't here, there wouldn't be any bleeding race riots, would there? I mean, that stands to reason. Any bloody fool can see that.
Oh, that's marvellous. Marvellous bit of bloody logic, that is. Just because I'm here and I'm a bit on the brown side, according to you, I could deserve a clump.
I'm not talking about you, Kenny. You're a bit different.
Not to that bloody mob down the high street, I'm not. They ain't too bloody fussy. If I'd have been there on Saturday, I'd have got a whack. And according to you, I would have provoked it just by being there. You're round the bloody twist, you are. Look, I don't like these mob as much as you do.
What?
You know that. But I mean, I draw the line at a man getting a thump just because he's a bit on the brown side. How would you like it if you got a thump for being a bit on the white side, you bloody Liverpool egg?
And what do you mean by me being a bit on the white side?
Well, you are a bit on the white side. In fact, to me, you're a bit on the bloody greyish yellow.
I think it's very interesting how this show clumps together Black people and South Asian people like they're one big group. All the slurs that are thrown at Kevin O'Grady are also thrown at Kenny, like he mentions earlier in the show. And don't get me wrong, your struggle is my struggle, okay? A win for you is a win for all of us. But perhaps this was just a reflection of the time, that if you weren't white, then you're basically all the same.
This color's good for you, this color. Because with this color you get many give it ones, yes?
Not half.
But not like him over there, white monkey. You not get many give it ones. Only got one wife with face like bloody boiled cabbage. But it's better that you are this color, so you get more give it ones. Don't you agree? I think the black color more attractive. More attractive to be black. You and me are black, yes?
Yeah,
So
all right. Don't
we are
tell
black.
everybody. Okay.
I believe one of the biggest failures in the writing of this show is how they've portrayed Kevin O'Grady. I do not know a single brown man that would take any of this shit sitting down. If their goal was to showcase the ridiculousness of racism, then it would only make sense that Kevin O'Grady would fight back. He should be hitting them back with zingers every single time he gets insulted on this show. But no, he just sits there like the fucking Easter Island head emoji and just takes it.
It's only wogs that don't eat pork.
I am not Wog. I'm not Wog. Look, blue-eyed. Irish. I'm Irish.
They don't grow up in trees still, you know, and wear things and all that. And go, ooh, and you...
No offence to you, Sambo. Just getting the point straight, that's all.
Well, again, Sambo.
Well, what is he then? I am not a Sambo. I don't run around with thing over doodle and boom, boom, boom. I don't do that. I am Irish.
Look, how can you be Irish if you was born in bloody Pakistan?
I'm born in Pakistan, but my parents are Irish.
Yeah, but only one. I mean, only one of your parents was Irish. Otherwise, none of this.
Yes, none of this. One of my parents is Irish. My father is Irish.
Bloody mix and marry anything.
What?
His only response to the racism is to just insist that he is Irish and to deny his Pakistani side. Now, perhaps this was a commentary on how some South Asians who immigrate abroad tend to mimic their white counterparts as a desperate attempt to be accepted as one of them, when really it's just a deep-rooted hatred of their own culture that has traces back to British colonialism. But let's be real, that's a little too ahead of their time. Kevin O'Grady is not a champion for South Asians because, like his co-workers, he puts himself down at every chance he gets.
Don't want to worry about him, he's Wog mad.
Oh no, he's right. There are far too many Wog in this country. I leave Pakistan because there are far too many Wog there. So I come to England, and there are still too many Wog.
That's your one.
Oh no, I'm Irish.
Another one of the major pitfalls of this show is their extremely liberal usage of racial slurs. I am not exaggerating when I say every other sentence in this show contained a slur.
That bloody coon, he's gonna win the bloody pool.
Hey, less of the coon, you stinking old goat.
God, bloody, what's up with him? What's up with him? All I did was call the wog a coon, he has a go at me. He says he's going to report me to the racing board. Bloody red! Bloody red coon lover!
To yell C-word lover over a black man's shoulder, it's hard to perceive that as anything that even remotely resembles a joke. I get it. This show was meant to satirize racism in Britain, so naturally these actors are gonna be out here saying racist things. But god damn, these actors really enjoyed saying these words. A little too much if you ask me. I'm gonna assume that they were going for the absurdist humor route where they try to fit in as many slurs as TV would allow and hope that someone out there is gonna chuckle. This is also part of why their comedy fell so flat. I believe that this show was trying to depict British people as so absurdly racist that that in itself was supposed to be the joke. Like, get a load of this guy, what a racist! But it didn't come off that way because it was just too racist, even for that time period. An example of this is this absolutely bonkers conversation that Arthur has with some random man at a bar. Excuse me, pubbing him.
Tell you what they ought to do with the coons and wogs, your government, I mean. They ought to export them.
Export them?
Export them, not import them, like in the old days, mate.
Oh, rubbish.
Not rubbish. Facts, mate. Facts? Who was it flogged America all their coons, eh? Answer me that. Us! They was understaffed in America in the old days, so we helped them out by flogging them all their coons. They was all coons, they was, but we had a surplus of them, all sitting about in Africa doing nothing.
If it's any consolation to you, Every single person that was involved in the production of this show is currently either rotting in a nursing home or rotting 6 feet in the ground. This man suggests that the solution to the immigration problem is to bring back slavery. What a hoot! Don't you hear the audience laughing? Me neither. So, why am I talking about curry and chips now, 56 years after it was on the air? Because I believe we're headed back into this era of dark humor. Look at how many people are going back to using slurs online. Look at the resurgence of insult humor and how being nasty to one another for the sake of a joke is suddenly popular again. It is my belief that we're gonna see more dark humor-based TV shows and movies in the near future. Now, if you know me, you know I'm all for that, so long as it's done tastefully. I don't think curry and chips did it tastefully in the slightest. I think the reason that I'm just so fixated on this show is just because it had the potential to be something great. This was filmed just 22 years after the end of British colonial rule in Hindustan and the partition of India and Pakistan. The premise of the show is brilliant. A Pakistani immigrant comes to Britain for job opportunities but has to navigate a bunch of ignorant racists. To have a South Asian actor as the lead role in a sitcom is fucking groundbreaking. They had the opportunity to set a precedent for how minorities should be portrayed as the main lead of a sitcom before anybody else. I think their hearts were in the right place when they made this show, because if they wanted to have a minority character just for the sake of a couple cheap laughs, they would have made Kevin O'Grady a side character. He would have been the lowly janitor that would show up for 2 minutes every episode and say some stupid and self-deprecating things until all the main characters bullied him off screen. But no, he's the main character. He's the premise of the show, and they had to go and ruin it with brownface. So you know how people say, oh, you could never make a show like this today. I think you can. I think curry and chips absolutely should be remade today with a few adjustments. Listen, I've always wanted to be a writer, so just humor me for a second, okay? First and foremost, Kevin O'Grady should be portrayed by a Pakistani actor, point blank period. I do like the idea of him being half Irish, so let's keep that, but I think his name should reflect his mixed heritage. Like, I think his name should be something like Mustafa O'Neill or something like that. I do like the name of the show as well, Curry and Chips, but I think chips and curry just sounds better. Like, throughout this video, I was kind of struggling to say curry and chips and not chips and curry, but I get it. It's a play on word of fish and chips, so it has to be curry and chips, whatever. Anyways, I think the show should still take place in 1969 in London in a prank toy factory. I'm thinking the British people need to be over the top, stereotypically, absurdly British, and they all need to dress like some mixture between Austin Powers and Nardwuar. To completely eradicate racial slurs from the show would imply that no one was saying these things in the 60s. I mean, you saw how easily these words rolled off these actors' tongues, so we'll keep racial slurs, but to a minimum. And every time somebody utters a racial slur in the show, something bad happens to them. Like, they slip on a banana peel, or they walk into a wall that looks like a tunnel. Like, that makes sense because they work at a prank toy factory. I didn't mention it in the video, but there was quite a bit of gay jokes as well in the show that I thought were a bit stale, as if the slurs and brownface wasn't enough. Like, they had this theory that Kevin O'Grady was secretly gay because of his religion. I don't know. It was so stupid and unfunny that I didn't even think it was worth acknowledging with a comment. But again, to cut out all the gay jokes would imply that nobody was homophobic at the time, so I think we should have an episode where everybody suspects that Kevin O'Grady might be gay, but it's all based on like really ridiculous assumptions like, look how fast he's walking! Only homosexuals walk that fast! And my last and most controversial idea for the Curry and Chips reboot, there should be one episode with brownface. Stay with me, get your hand off the dislike button. Hear me out. So, somebody makes an anonymous complaint to the company headquarters of racism and discrimination. So, as a result, the company headquarters send an investigator down to the factory to make sure that everyone's getting along well. So everybody has to put on a happy face and pretend like they're all best friends, and it is imperative that Kevin O'Grady is there at work that day. But unfortunately, he falls sick and calls out of work. So, to improvise, one of the co-workers thinks it's a fantastic idea to brown up and pretend to be Kevin O'Grady for a day. So the investigator shows up and naturally sees right through this and says, right, I'm gonna pretend I didn't see that. I'm gonna come back a week from now, and I don't want you guys pulling this shit again. So when Kevin O'Grady gets back to work and finds out what his coworker did, he's obviously furious. He has a sit down with his coworker and tries to explain to him why what he did was so offensive, but his coworker just isn't getting it. So 1 week later, when the investigator comes back, Kevin O'Grady is at work this time, but he's chalked up in whiteface. And he's doing a really bad British impression. Come on, come on. Tell me you see the vision. So, let me ask the audience. What did you think of Curry and Chips? Did you think it was bad enough to warrant being canceled after 6 episodes? Do you think it deserved more airtime? Or do you think it never should have seen the light of day? Another reason I was so motivated to make this video is because all the discourse around Curry and Chips online, and it was very limited because the show is, you know, so obscure, all the discourse online is largely positive. Like, everyone's just touting, oh, Spike Milligan's a genius. Spike Milligan was ahead of his time. Ahead of his time? Ahead of his time? He put shoe polish on his face and pretended to be another race. He was not ahead of his time. But anyways, if you have 3 hours to spare, the show is still currently available on YouTube to watch, all 6 episodes, so I'd like to hear your thoughts. Thank you so much for watching. Feel free to follow me on my Instagram account for all of my daily deranged thoughts and my embroidery art. Subscribe if you want to see more, and I will catch you in the next one. Bye for now.